Hey there, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Jamie, and we're your co-hosts for Two Clicks in a Pod.
Join us as we explore our missed times, stories, and memories due to divorce and a 1,000-mile separation.
I can't wait. You ready to get into it, Kev?
I am. Hey, Jamie, you think they're going to swear?
Oh, yeah. Consider yourselves
like
warned.
that. I should have hit record, Dad, so that everyone could have heard that statement. You said, "I wish I knew what I was doing here." I feel like that's a very philosophical statement. I wish I knew what I was doing a lot of the time too, Dad. If it makes you feel any better. What am I doing here?
Whew.
All right, you got Bowling for Soup on today.
Yes, I
Representing
do.
a Texas. There you go. I see you. Representing a Dallas, Texas, right? Bass band?
No,
Bowling for
actually, they were from Wichita.
Ah, that's right.
Wichita Falls, I think. Or
That's
wherever
right.
Kelsey was from. Wichita Falls,
Kelsey
Texas.
Webb. Producer Kelsey.
Kelsey Webb.
Okay. I forgot about that. I just always saw them in Dallas. So with my good buddy Reed Johnson introduced me to Bowling for Soup. Shout out to Reed.
I think I'm pretty sure we were all together at House of Blues when they performed there. I don't know if you remember that.
I think I do. And then I remember seeing them, I think at the state fair possibly, or we were somewhere outdoors. It felt like it would have been when they played at the state fair. If Reed is listening to this, I'm sure he can give us some feedback and comments as to if
Probably.
we got that right.
Yeah.
If we got that right. Well, how's your visit going?
It's going good. It's been a fast and furious pace. Just here, viewers and listeners were actually at the home of the maker of the mold, Mom's house. So been here with her since Thursday last week. Getting ready to go home tomorrow. Back to Dallas after the week, or back to Nashville, and just spending a lot of time, good quality time. Spent a lot of time on Saturday and Sunday catching up on the podcast. She's obviously a religious listener, and kind of fact checking and going back to stories that we told just to see what was valid, what was stretched. And we had a really good time doing that, and heard filled in a lot of the blanks of things that maybe, I've assumed versus really now know. So it's very, very informational.
She may be our number one fan, possibly.
Maybe.
Well,
Probably. I think we've got a lot of routine listeners that we've been hearing from recently. So that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
But,
well, it is kind of fun when I was thinking this over the weekend, which was one of the posts that I made about memories. And I think the memories are what we remember. Obviously, that's why there are memories. So it's kind of fun sometimes when another person can come in and either fill the gaps or go, well, it was a little different than that. But at the same time, I think it's valid to state that, your memories are how you remember it, if you're following me. Yeah, I like to say a lot, perception, it's their reality. I say that at work a lot because people say things like, well, I didn't mean for them to take it that way. And I'm constantly telling people I work with, well, your perception is their reality. So it doesn't really matter what your intent was. What matters is how they took that. So I think about that with memories too.
Well, that's true. That's true. And I know in just talking about a number of things, she told me the story of was going through just some questions of, how did she describe me when I was a child, or specifically what timeline was I walking, or what were my first words? How was the day of delivery? So I heard lots of good stories about that. So lots of new details and lots of things to chart down and put in note form to carry forward, and
that's cool.
Try to bring forward a memory per the book that Shane forwarded me. Dad, I want to hear your story for the grandkids. So I was asking Mom those interview questions.
Oh, okay. To fill in the book. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep. Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, we keep hearing that too. That's some constant feedback you and I both received, is just how people have enjoyed listening to us share this because it's triggered them to ask the questions of their own parents or children to help learn and remember those things. So that's cool that you and Grandma are doing that, as you and I are doing that. Yeah.
Yep, it is cool. And so just a lot of good quality time with Mom, helping her out on odds and ends around the house, but be glad to get home. It's been a little bit of a challenge as just in this new exercise and diet plan that
what are you doing? What are you doing? What's this plan?
Well, I just got tired of trying to exercise and not drop weight. I just couldn't bust below the, occasionally 198, 200 pounds. And no matter how much I was riding my bike or what kind of exercise I thought I was doing, but I just needed, I think, a swift kick from a diet standpoint.
Yep.
To eat more healthy and create a more regimented, daily workout routine. So I started that with a program called V, as in victory, Shred.
Nice.
So it's been really, really eye-opening.
Wait,
so it's been good.
V Shred, like you're shredding.
Yep. V Shred.
Weight.
Yep.
Cut. You're gonna be cut, Dad, at the end of this.
So, obviously it was founded by a really good-looking guy who's a model and a fitness model, and just has obviously a lot of experience just in the fitness world. But his claim to fame is that kind of the whole cardio thing is not really necessary. It's more of just.
I think I've seen this guy on Instagram, and he's like, "Do you think you can't eat a donut and never lose weight?" And he's all about how it's not about cardio, but eating the right foods and the way you exercise.
Yeah, the right foods, the way you exercise, and better yet, that it's not how long you exercise. It's just doing things that are more effective.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've seen this guy. I've definitely watched the video. I mean, it had me at the "you can still eat donuts,"
And I'm pretty sure his first name is Vince. Is what I think it is. I think his name is Vince. Yeah.
Victory.
So
Vince.
Anyway, you get a full full grocery list to go shopping for groceries for the week, and then it's got outlined menus for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and working through it for the first, now going on 10 days. It's not, I don't find the food being objectionable. It's very, very good. Obviously, you're cutting back portion control. So there are some cravings of hunger, but lots of fish, lots of chicken, lots of ground beef in combination with ground turkey, but great meals, shrimp, stir fry, all kinds of things. So,
but you're making the meals, right? They're not pre-made meals.
Oh,
you have to make them. Yeah.
And here being with Mom, I feel like the days go by so quickly because you're working out first thing in the morning, then you're prepping your breakfast, then you go to work and get online to work a little bit or do my honeydews for Mom, and then lunch is right there. And I've been cooking for her, so she's been eating right along with me, and she's wanting to copy the recipe. She absolutely loves them.
There you go.
Yeah, she's told Suzanne that I'm not going home. She's not letting me come home. She's really she really has enjoyed being prepared food and kind of watching out for her.
Look, I can tell you, my most favorite thing ever is when I come home and Chris has made dinner. It's just that is the biggest win of all times. And I really appreciate that. And we live a very 50-50 household, so I know he does as well. But that's not having to cook your own food and not having to blow dry your own hair are probably my two biggest wins in the world. If I can get someone to blow dry my hair and cook my dinner, I'm happy. So that's cool. That's great. So you're into 10 days, and how many days are you doing this?
Well, it's actually a 90-day program. So
wow. So you're doing no alcohol too, right?
No alcohol
for 90 days.
Well, I actually cheated yesterday, but I mean, I came here, didn't have a scale, jumped on the scale on Sunday, which was a week later than when I weighed myself, and I had jumped on the scale first day. It was 203 pounds. jumped on the scale on Sunday. It was 196 pounds.
Nice.
So
Okay.
7 pounds dropped. No alcohol to that point.
Yeah.
Met up with a high school friend of mine, Kevin Top. Michael Kevin Top's here in the area. Lives in Yorktown, just down the road where Dad actually worked. So we met yesterday for Taco Tuesday. He and his wife showed up. So had a Miller Lite beer and 2 mahi mahi tacos. I consulted my personal coach, letting him know I was actually going out for the first time, meal away from home, and he just said,
and they recommended that.
Says stay on the tacos and then brown rice if you can get it. So,
did you ask him about alcohol?
I've not brought that up. My game plan is I really am not worried about drinking alcohol because I know that's the just not having had anything to drink alcoholic for over a week, going to that show, the Creed show, all that stuff, no alcohol. I mean, I have felt so freaking good, right? And so clear-headed and clear-minded.
I know.
I've not, for whatever reason, I've not been fighting my sinuses here, other than I know I seem to be fighting them today for some reason. But it's been 74 degrees here today, just very cool weather, very, very beautiful time here within the colonial capital.
With the colonial capital. Well, I will tell you, little spoiler alert, the weather is beautiful here as well. I walked outside the other morning and it's literally, as you're probably feeling, there's a chill in the air. And when the wind blows, you feel this chill where I had to wear a sweatshirt and it made my day. I've just been very, very happy with the weather, but I too have started I'm just going to call it what it is. It's a diet. I don't like to say I diet because I think that's a very old school way of thinking. I try to say, no, I'm eating more responsibly, but this is straight up. Well, technically it's a cleanse. So Chris and I are doing a 21-day cleanse / they call it the ultimate reset. So it's like taking your body back to its most natural state, which it is no alcohol. No coffee. The only thing you drink is distilled water. Like they don't even want you drinking tap water or bubble. I love my LaCroix.
Yeah.
And none of that. It's
yep.
Nothing. It's distilled water that you put minerals in and you shake. So we have all these gallons of distilled water all over the house that we put our mineral salts in and we shake it. And that's all I'm drinking. So I'm on today's Wednesday. We are on day 3 of 21 days. And the first week you're cutting out dairy. So you get a little bit of dairy and meat-based proteins. You're kind of cutting that out. And then in week 2, it's all vegan. And then in week 3, I don't even know the word for it, but all it is fruits and vegetables. That's it.
Wow.
So, but you're eating a lot of it. That's the thing. You'll sit there. I made this salad for lunch today and I thought it was like an animal. It was so much vegetation and I just like, how am I going to eat all this? But obviously I did because I didn't want to be hungry, but it's a lot. And it's a lot to your point of the time commitment. I spent 3.5 hours on Sunday just food prepping, like chopping vegetables, pre-cooking rice, quinoa, sweet potato, so that during the week I can just throw it all together.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's a lot.
Yeah. I didn't have to prep food. I just kind of prepped portions of the meats and the fish and things like that. But
yeah.
I keep a small skillet on the cooktop here at Mom's, just because you're constantly warming something up. That's the other thing I enjoy. I think there's only one day of a chickpea salad, which I actually brought the chickpeas that you and I bought years ago when you were on that diet. Remember we went to Costco and bought all that stuff? So those chickpeas have followed me around. They've been in, I think, 3 different cupboards from here, there, and everywhere.
Are they still good?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, hopefully.
I can't say that I was really a chickpea fan, but I love them. I love them. I mean, just some chickpeas, some onions, some sliced, uh, the small tomatoes, the
Oh
whatever.
yeah, oh yeah.
Just
They
kind of you only get four. You only get four of those, but
4 cherry
yeah,
tomatoes.
yep. So you get the cherry tomatoes, and yeah, just that's and then a little balsamic on it. That's perfect. And then you have a chicken, broccoli, and brown rice bowl that you prepare. So
That sounds good.
some days are heavier on the food. Other days are more. It's just well balanced, and
Yeah. Well, all
I've been
that's
thankful.
intentional. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and better yet, the recipes are the same for the first 2 weeks. So
That's
that's
helpful.
that's a joy. And if it
Well,
was the
they
same for the next two more weeks, I'd be just fine with it. Like I say,
right.
it tastes
Well,
very
here's
good.
the deal. They say it's 80% it is what goes in your mouth is the way your weight gain.
Mm-hmm.
80%
Mm-hmm.
of your actual physical appearance. So yeah. Well, good luck to you. Let's keep checking in on that. Proud of
Yep.
you.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna tell you what I weighed, but I'll tell you how many pounds I hopefully lose. So I was not too happy with myself, but that's all right. That's all right.
Okay.
Well, hey, before we get in, I have to ask you something real quick because I noticed this today and I just want to have your male opinion on this. So I was driving to go pick Reese up from theater camp. And Dad, I'm not kidding you. From my house to downtown media, where the media theater is, which that's not a far distance. It's probably about a
No.
mile and a quarter, maybe.
Walking distance. Yeah.
Right. And I drove, but I'm saying I was about a mile from my house. And in a mile from my house, I saw 3 men, wearing what I call a murse, a man purse. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm just curious of what is your opinion on the man purse and what is your opinion of it? And I guess secondary to that, what is the point of it? What is a man carrying that requires this purse? 3 of them.
I know. I like how when I sigh, in listening to the recordings, I always hear a big sigh, and I tagged my sighs to a couple of different things, and we won't get into that. But with each sigh, it's either desperation of trying to hold back, not saying anything, probably, but or it's really a hard topic to talk about. And after it's all said and done, I think that was episode 2, and then I just go, oh my. I didn't want to show anybody that was hard. So I'm giving the listeners all a clue that if you hear me sigh, there's a couple of responses. One is either I'm getting tired, that we're going too long, or better yet, that it's a tough topic to talk about, or man, how do I really feel about the murse? I mean,
well, first of all, do you like my
they've
name? It's a good name though, right? It's a murse, man purse.
It is a murse. Well,
Yeah.
those have been out for a while. They've kind of gone away, and then they've come back. We used to wear them around the waist. Now they're wearing
Well,
them
that's
over
a
the
fanny
chest.
pack. That's a
That
fanny
is a
pack.
fanny pack.
And
But
I do the crossbody bag. Yeah. Yeah.
But the pack's no longer on the fanny; it's brought forward, and I always love seeing an overweight guy where
Right.
the fanny pack's underneath his belly,
Yeah.
and you can't see the fanny pack. But anyway,
But typically the fanny pack was being used when you're like on vacation. So maybe you had like a pack of tissues or I don't know, tickets or something. I'm just curious, like on a okay.
We're always hanging on to this thing, and we never know where to put it except in a pocket. And
well, you're
a lot
showing
of times,
your phone. You're showing your phone right now. So
showing
I
my
get that.
phone.
And the phones are large. So I guess maybe there's some men that are just like, I don't want to put my phone in my back pocket. I am not making fun. I just couldn't get over the fact that I saw 3 men in a day in a 1 mile span of time carrying a murse. And and they kind of looked empty. I'm like, it doesn't even look like you have anything in there. But I mean, same could be true for me. In my purse, I carry a very small bag, and it's my wallet, my phone, typically a pair of sunglasses, And if I'm, having my time of the month, I've got some tampons in there.
Well, I think some males just hate to put shit in their pockets. They don't like carrying their wallet in their pocket. They don't like carrying their keys in their pocket. I hate
All
putting a
right.
set of keys in my pocket, but
All
I
right.
would not. I don't think I would have a murse. I thought about it upon occasion on a travel. Would it be? But I cannot see me. I mean, I was uncool enough in high school to where I don't need to go back to a murse.
I would, if I'm a man and I'm traveling and I've got more stuff, I'm wearing a backpack. Like Chris will do that quite a bit when we've traveled like
Oh yeah.
overseas and stuff.
Oh yeah.
He'll carry a backpack for the day
Yep.
and throw his
Yep.
water and whatever. But I was just curious. I just wanted a man's perspective. And again, no offense to the men out there carrying them. I was just curious as to my Padres opinion. So, all right, we can move on. I got a tickle out of that today.
Let's hope that drives some feedback, because maybe you'll get lots of comments about the murse.
I would love to hear feedback on people's opinions of the murse. So I would love to hear it. Yeah.
Yep.
And sometimes, it would not be the first time to be told that I'm being judgmental. So I will take that.
You didn't say that you were judgmental. You just said that there was 3 men. So,
but who are we kidding? The fact that I observed it and I'm asking you about it obviously means I'm judging it a little bit.
Right.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give you a great privilege, I guess. We've made it through talking about your background, the background specific to you, and are now at the point in the timeline, as we have called it several times in planning, to jump over to share the missed experiences that you had from me living on the East Coast. So we just, obviously, Eastbound and Down has been released. It's been out now. Hopefully people have listened to that. And if not, you should. These episodes are running in chronological order. So if you've missed it, jump in and check out episode 8. But so I'm going to turn the reins over to you, Dad, and I guess I'll be I'll be under the spotlight here a bit. And
sounds perfect. I think what I'd like to have you do, and I'll try to fire some questions to keep you along the path, but I'd like to. Obviously, your first stop was in the Atlanta area, so let's focus on that, being in Atlanta and the grades in which you attended.
Yep.
I guess
Memories
kindergarten
there,
or first grade through third grade or whatever it is. And then get through that. And then we know that after that, have moved on to Orlando, and we'll cover the grades down there. But let's get through at least the elementary years, 1 through, grade 5 or grade 6 or whatever it would take it to.
Yeah.
And we can in both locations. So we'll start off in Georgia, which you were actually outside of Atlanta in a area of Dunwoody, I believe. So that's what I remember.
That's correct. I mean, that as far as these details, there's probably a lot of shared where you probably remember just about as much as I do. But so we relocated to a suburb of Atlanta, Hotlanta, into Dunwoody, went to Sandy Springs Elementary School, and that is where I actually started elementary school. So I moved there at 5 and did K through 2nd grade in Atlanta, the Atlanta area. And I mean, it's funny, I don't remember teachers' names. I couldn't tell you. I have like a couple of memories of friends. Most of those or one of my good friends, I do remember. Her name was Hillary, and she and I met at daycare, and then she also lived in the apartment complex that we lived in together. I would have said she was, at that time, she was my bestie, as the kids say these days, my bestie. And that was probably a very unique bond in that, again, not only were we the same age, meaning same grade and everything, but we were at that daycare together and then lived in the apartment complex, because we lived in the apartment the entire time that we lived in Atlanta. And there was a good amount of kids in the apartments that I remember. I remember being outside a lot, playing with kids, being at the apartment complex pool, all that stuff. We were outdoors quite a bit. And just kind of felt like we had free reign. You know, I don't remember ever feeling I guess the memories of being there are being with friends, being outside. I don't really remember being observed or managed too much by mom or Stu for that fact. You know, it was very much just those were the memories. Playing in the woods there, being at the pool, roller skating, a lot of roller skating on the weekends. We were really into that, Shane and I both, and had our own skates, and we would just rip around that rink. You know, it was one of those things where you would get off the actual skating rink and they had these carpeted blocks that were almost like in the shape of an octagon that you would sit on to put your skates on, right? So they had those stationed like around the exterior of the rink itself, and we would be skating and like jump off and jump up onto those things and jump off of them and back onto the, I mean, and when we'd get we'd get in trouble for that because you weren't obviously supposed to do it, but we just, obviously there was a level of comfort, like we thought we owned that place, that we could behave the way we did, and we were there every weekend. We would go up there, and mom would sit in the cafe and read a book, as we talked about, mom loving to do, and we would just roller skate. So we did that, and you know, it's funny because when we go up to Iceworks now, where Parker plays his home rink for hockey, you know, I think that's probably how he feels. It's just like, it's a home away from home for him. And he, you know, he rips around that place like he can do whatever he wants. So it's kind of fun thinking about these things and talking through them. And I can imagine how he feels, because that's how I felt about the rink there. I wish I could remember the name of that skating rink. I remember the rink in Orlando, but I don't remember the name of the rink there in Atlanta. But anyway, so we did that, and I mean, it was quick, you know, it was 3 years, K through 2, but early years. So I don't have huge memories. I do remember when it was time to move that I was sad. I didn't want to move. I thought it was the end of the world. You know, I had these couple, you know, a handful of good friends. And so that was, obviously, it felt much bigger than I'm sure it was. And I'm sure, you know, mom and dad probably had to mitigate through that quite a bit and assuring us that the move was going to be just fine and we would survive.
Were you in the apartment for those 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did Stuart know that he was only there for a short time, or do you know what the storyline there was?
Sorry, my distilled water went down the wrong pipe. Wow. Must be all those minerals I'm getting. Yeah. You know what's funny, now that you ask that? I remember just a random memory of being in the apartment and Stu being on the phone, an actual phone, in the kitchen. And I just remember him saying, like, well, why would I leave this huge area like Atlanta, this huge, you know, city, to move to little Orlando? And I forgot that I had that memory until you just asked that. But so in that time, I didn't know we were moving, but I do have a memory of him overhearing that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then to be obviously told, probably, I don't know, maybe not that long after that, we're going to move to Orlando. I mean, he moved for work. So when he was in Atlanta, I believe he was working for Lincoln Property Company. And then when we moved to Orlando, still went and was still working for Lincoln, but eventually left Lincoln to work for CNL. So, I mean, my guess is that it was a job opportunity, just a bit, like, probably a bigger role. But in his mind, and now thinking back on that conversation, I'm sure the thought was, you know, the apprehension was, well, hey, I'm in this huge city. I mean, Atlanta's a lot bigger than Orlando. Orlando's grown a lot, but when we moved there, you know, Orlando was not what Orlando is today. Right. And so, yeah, I do remember him saying that. But yeah, it must have been just a job opportunity. And obviously, you know, Stu did very well in Orlando. So, and he's still there today. But
right.
Yeah. So Atlanta there's fond memories, and, you know, learned how to ride a bike in Atlanta. And well, Shane will probably tell you his claim to fame was that he made the the brochure of the kinder care, the national campaign brochure, which he never
Oh
failed
my.
to let me forget that. So I'll have to, I think mom still has that brochure here because Lord knows he's never going to live that down. But he got selected to be in the brochure for the national campaign, and I was not. So, but my friend Hillary was. She was in the brochure as well. So, and that was like the other thing too to remember about being that was, I guess, unique to Atlanta was that we did go to daycare. So we went to school and then we got, I think, on like a van bus to the kinder care. So we were daycare kids through those years in Atlanta.
I always wondered why it was kinder care, not kinder care.
I don't know. And I mean, it was fine. I don't remember any issues there. I mean, I remember liking it just fine, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was a straight up chain daycare facility.
Yeah,
not like
exactly.
where I send my, where my kids went. They went to like little private places, but
yeah, I can't remember the name of the daycare that you guys were at when we were in Mesquite.
La Petite Academy.
Yeah, it was La Petite. Okay. Yep.
Also a chain. Yeah.
Another chain. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
So that would have been K through 2 for me, first through third for Shane, and then the move to Orlando, specifically to Maitland.
Yep.
Which I'm pretty confident that occurred the summer before school started because I know we started school. I mean, I'm pretty confident we finished the school year there in Atlanta and then, started fresh when the school year started there down in Maitland. And I do remember it being hot, not that it wasn't hot in Atlanta, but I just remember thinking it's really hot here and it rained. Orlando, it's very typical to have the 2:00 in the afternoon every day dump thunderstorm. So I do have the memory of walking out of the airport and it just pouring down rain, so it's like this sad move and now it's raining. And so we had the rain and then the little lizards, that was new. So I didn't like that because I don't like bugs. I don't like things like that. So I didn't like that. And then the giant flying roaches that are in Orlando, the palmetto bugs that fly. And those were like, in my mind, those were just like flying everywhere. They probably weren't, but that was something that I just hated too.
Wow.
But yeah.
So,
but then it just went, then everything else is just being happy there. Like I don't have like memories of apprehensions on the first day of school or anything like that. I think it just it just took off. So they planned that well in the sense of letting us get there right when school's starting. So, you're forced into meeting people just like everybody else is on the first day of school.
Sure. And that was grade 3 or grade 4? Grade
3 for me and 4 for Shane. Yeah.
4 for Shane.
For me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So, any in that first push or the first couple of weeks, how easy was it to actually make some good friends, or were you able to do that ahead of actually getting into school in the neighborhood?
I don't remember doing that. I mean, I will say that I had neighborhood friends that lived closer. A little girl named Katie that lived real close, that she and I would hang out a lot. And then when I got into 4th grade and was in the same class with Julie, best friend Julie, that is when, that's kind of when we became the Julie and Jamie show. Like, so those neighborhood girls that lived a little bit closer than Julie did. I mean, Julie lived close, but they were a little closer. I kind of stopped hanging out with them and moved. So, I mean, that was probably not very nice to those girls, but I had found who became, my best friend in the 4th grade and has been ever since. And yeah, so once I met Julie, there's very few memories I have of living in Orlando and even later years as we go off to college together. There's very few memories I have that don't include her. So that was in the 4th grade. And yeah, that obviously I had other friends as well, but she was kind of that, I mean, that constant companion, that
Yeah.
came.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So that was, elementary school was, again, kind of the same. We still, they did the monthly skating parties there at Cimarron Skateway.
Oh, wow.
They're in
Yep.
Orlando.
Yep.
So we
Remember
did
that.
those the first of the month. So I still got to take my roller skating. Nobody was as into that as we were in Atlanta. So when I showed up at the skating party with my own skates, that was like a big thing because everybody else just rented their skates. And I, of course, had my own skates. They were speed skates. And ironically enough, they were actually Shane's that he had outgrown and then now fit me. So
Mm-hmm.
I was wearing Shane's old skates. So that I would show up for those skating parties and they would do the races, and that was my claim to fame. I won the races every time. So
I see.
I was the
I
fastest
see.
girl on skates, Dad.
Did they, when I was in grade school, first through sixth grade, there was a roller rink right down from St. Monica's school.
Yeah.
And we would often go there and skate as well. But, there was always the debacle of, just general skating. And then they would try to separate the guys from the girls. It'd be all girls and all guys.
Yeah.
And then it would be an all skate. And then you'd have a couple
skate.
Couple skate,
Oh, yeah.
So,
oh, yeah. That
Yep.
was real big in fifth grade, which is funny now that we just concluded fifth grade with Reese. But in fifth grade, you did the couple skate and you waiting to see if a boy would ask you to couple skate.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think I got asked a handful of times, not very many. But I think about that now, and I don't think Reese would couple skate with a boy if she was asked to. I can't even get her to like acknowledge the boys that are at school. I'm like, "Are you going to say hi?" She's like, "God, no!" Like,
no.
I'm not talking to them because it's if you talk to them, then people are going to think you have a crush on them. That's how it is now. If you're talking to a boy, it means you like them, and they're not there where they want them to know that. So,
what was I always remember, it was always good music being played at the skating rink.
Oh, yeah.
My number one song at that point in time, this was before 60. This was like 60 to 67.
Yeah.
Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones.
Oh, nice.
Yep. So that thing would kick off and kick on, and you knew that you couldn't sit still and you'd get out there. So.
Well, you know how I feel about music. To this day, I always say I was born in the wrong generation in terms of the music I like. So I've always been jealous that, the music that you and Mom grew up listening to compared to what we have. But we had a lot of like Ace of Base, probably Spice Girls. I can remember maybe Spice Girls. Would that have been around, or was that too early? And
probably
then
a little too early. Maybe
Paula
not.
Abdul. We had some. I loved Paula Abdul.
Mm-hmm.
Paula. I think my first CD was a Paula Abdul CD that Shane got me for Christmas one year. I loved Paula Abdul. So there would have been that. Kind of the CNC Music Factory. I can't think of anything right now, but just that it was kind of that start of that music, that just the bass and the dance music, not a lot of rock and roll. I mean, they may have played some like Poison and stuff because that was, early 90s. That stuff was all out there.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, shoot. No, this would have been late 80s.
Late 80s, because all those 80s bands, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just loved it. I don't know. I loved the skating parties because it was something that what everybody did, but I was really good at it. And I liked that. Because I never had anything that like I was always okay at a lot of things, but I was really good at roller skating.
Well, I remember you guys going to skate quite a bit when you would come in and we'd take you to that Mesquite place and you guys would be out there with everybody and just love the speeds, the speed races. So that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Yep. And like learning how to do the splits on skates and stuff.
Oh,
all
yeah.
That. Yeah.
And the limbo. You always did the limbo.
Yeah. Always did the limbo, baby. Oh, yeah. So elementary school was good. Started playing softball in elementary school. Loved that. our first team name, I remember Julie and I were so embarrassed because we had to vote on it. And one of the names to vote for was the Babes. And our jerseys were pink. And I couldn't tell you what we voted for, but I know we didn't vote for the Babes, but the Babes won. And I just remember Julie and I being like, oh my God, the Babes, you know, like we just thought that was so lame. So we played softball, and yeah, I mean, that was probably towards the end of elementary school that I was doing that.
Okay.
And yeah, I loved it. Loved elementary school. This was funny. I do remember this. At recess time, we would play kickball a lot. And I was typically the pitcher for kickball. And it was boys and girls. We all played together. And Mom loves this story. When she went in for the parent-teacher conference for 5th grade, my teacher, Miss Mary Jane Maherg, who ended up being my Bible study leader in high school for our high school group of girls. That was funny. But anyways, Mrs. Maherg tells Miss Maherg, she wasn't married, tells Mom, she's like, hey, so I need to talk to you about Jamie. She's just, during recess, she's just, they're playing kickball and she's very bossy and she's telling everybody what to do. And Mom said, well, okay, what are the other kids doing? And she goes, well, they just listen to her. And Mom said, she was like, so what's the problem? Like, so nobody's mad at her. They're not fighting. And she's like, well, she's always doing it. And my mom was like, again, okay. Like, so she's being a leader. She's taking charge, And to this day, I'm like, well, that's when they should have known in 5th grade kickball. So I told everybody, and I'd be like, you're playing first. I'm pitching and Like I had no problem directing.
No,
even at a
taking
young
charge.
age. So,
not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, so elementary school was good, And then middle school transitioned into Maitland Middle School, which was literally right across the street. The elementary school was in the neighborhood, as was the middle school. And one of the coolest things that I do remember about that was that we could ride our bikes to school, and we did ride our bikes. Most kids in the neighborhood, a lot of us rode our bikes. So that's what you did. And then, and get ready for the shock. You didn't wear a helmet either.
No.
I was towards the end when we were leaving middle school, I believe it was like the next year where they were going to start requiring kids to wear a helmet that rode their bikes to school. And we were just like, oh God, we wouldn't have been caught dead wearing a bike helmet. And which is really sad because now all kids wear helmets and it's a good thing. I fully support wearing bike helmets. But back when I was a kid, like if you wore a bike helmet, you were a nerd. So I was not wearing a helmet. Didn't even own a helmet. Wasn't happening. And fell on my bike plenty of times as well.
Multiple times, yeah. I'm sure.
Plenty of times. So so middle school, we moved over right across the street. And that was grade 6 through 8. That's when I started getting involved in the media stuff. And I was on the morning news. And I did that. I believe that was 7th and 8th grade that I did that. And I loved doing that, told the stories, read what the lunch was going to be and all that good stuff. And
awesome.
That was huge for me. And kept playing softball, started doing classes to prepare to try out for cheerleading in high school. I knew I wanted to do that, to try out for that, pretty much, I think we started prepping for that in 7th grade, knowing that we wanted to be cheerleaders in high school. So started doing that. And friend group was pretty much the same. Julie was still there, picked up some other girls in the neighborhood and just through school, and we went to Maitland. We picked up some kids from other neighboring elementary schools. So the pool of kids got larger. And it was good. I've enjoyed watching Reese prepare for this transition because it's had me remember just what that was like. And I will say, I think they make a really big deal about kids going to middle school now. I just don't remember it feeling that way. I just remember feeling like yeah, you're going to the next building now. And some of that could have been too, because Shane and I were only a grade apart, so it was like I was living through everything he was living through as it was happening. It was so relevant. So he had just done it, so I probably was kind of like, well, how hard can this be? He just did it and he's fine. So I just
Yeah,
never
yeah.
had those apprehensions, that I feel like they're putting on kids today. But yeah.
So knowing that Shane was ahead of you, did you have any issues with regards to McClintock versus McClintick throughout that time frame?
Again, every once in a while it would come up on the first day of school, and either I would just correct it, or as I told you the story in the past, Julie would correct it sometimes. But I feel like by the time I got to middle school, if it was, I would just say, hey, it's McClintick, it's not McClintock. And that probably goes to me just gaining more confidence in myself. And I did not correct it at that point. By the time I was in middle school, I'm pretty sure I was always correcting it. But yeah, I do remember it was I probably remember that happening all through high school, even on the first day of school for roll call.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So at the end of just before, look at your prior to entering middle school, you had met Julie for sure.
Yes.
And who were your top 4 best friends at that point in time versus at the end of your middle school, I guess 8th grade time frame?
I mean they kind of all stayed the same. So it would have been like Julie, and then another Julie. Julie Adams was a good friend. Kristen Rashoy, who lived in the neighborhood, was a good friend. There was a girl named down the street. Her name was Katie, but a different Katie. Ran around with her. Another Kristen. Who else? God, there are a couple other girls, but those were ones that seemed like they were around through Hope. Hope was a good friend through middle school, elementary school, middle school, and into high school. And what's interesting about girls compared to probably you as a boy is that girls are tough, man. Like I went through some things with friends where you were tight, and then something that was probably absolutely nothing happened, and I wouldn't hang out with them for a while, and then they'd come back, and we'd be thick as thieves again, and you would kind of cycle through this. So it was interesting in that way, and I think that's a girl thing, because I just think girls are hard. I think girls can be very mean, and again, having a daughter, I share these things with her a lot, because she'll come home and she'll call them the popular girls, and I'm like, well, what makes them popular? And it's not that I didn't have those feelings too, of recognizing like those were the popular girls. And I try to have her well, what makes them popular to you? Well, I don't know. She can't tell me what it is. One, like back in the 4th grade, she goes, well, they all wear these shirts. And I'm like, okay. So they're popular because they wear a certain shirt. I'm like, well, do you like that shirt? Do you want one of those shirts? Well, maybe, I don't know. So it's just, and I don't think at that age you can really articulate what is just, it's just this vibe. It's like, maybe it's because they're pretty, or maybe it's because they're confident, or maybe because they do wear the cool clothes. I don't know, but there's always that group. And so I'm just trying to build up my children to be kind people, have confidence, and at the same time, it's like I do try to tell them, hey, it's like being aware of what makes you either part of the mainstream or being different. And if you want to be different, that's fine. But it's kind of like, just know that when you're different, things can be harder. So,
yeah.
Yeah. But I want to have those honest conversations with my kids, because I think it's important, because we're entering these years that are very challenging for especially raising a girl. But yeah. So yeah, the friends were kind of the same. And then of course we talk about this later, but in high school, it opens up even more in high school, right? And then it changes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. It seems like, obviously, I know you made a remark when I described moving from, Indiana into Virginia, and how just
Yeah.
it was exciting and it was something fresh and new, and it wasn't really any concern or any bitterness or any, it was an opportunity. It was more just the excitement of someplace else to go. So it sounds like it was very similar. So, and I, is obviously we visited you, I think once or twice there in the apartment. That was, again, a good way to, like I said, we could drive there, show up for a weekend, and better yet, drive, bring you back. So, I think on maybe the next episode in covering additional years, I'd like to go back and actually get your perspective of what it was to pack and go, to pack and leave Georgia to come visit Texas, and Texas back to Georgia, and then Orlando. And I thought it was so cool that you guys moved to Orlando. And I did love that city just because, like you say, it was Disney town, but they had the magic. They had lots. There was it's an entertainment fiasco right there of all these things to do.
Yeah.
But it was so easy because easy to get to know, easy to navigate. It wasn't huge.
It wasn't huge.
It was just but a very dynamic city for sure.
Well, what you said too is like getting to Orlando put it just far that much farther that we started flying. It went from picking us up where we were the unaccompanied minors flying on the plane back and forth, and Orlando being such a tourist destination, you were able to get fairly decent airfare. That was another thing too. We would fly on the Sun back then. Now it's like Allegiant and stuff like Frontier. Well, back then it was called Sun Country, and it was like the cheap airline, but because they would just run the routes to Orlando, taking all the kids, all the families to Disney World. And I will tell you to this day, it's like I have so many memories of the Orlando airport, just because I just flew probably a lot more than a lot of kids my age, because I was flying to Dallas 3 to 4 times a year at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the flights coming home flying from Dallas back home to Orlando were always great. Everybody was excited. I mean, it was full of people going to Disney World for the most part. That's the people that were on the flights. Sure. And they were all excited. They were amped up. They were going to the happiest place on earth, right? Well, the flights going from Orlando to Dallas were fucking miserable. It was like all these families with all these kids. The kids were all crying because everybody's tired. The dads are like, sit out. Like, I just have all these memories of like stressed out parents, overwhelmed, overstressed, overly tired, and then kids being grumpy because they're leaving the happiest place on earth, and just being like, oh my God, just get us there. And everything now, I find myself to this day, just because I've traveled so much throughout my life, like people at airports just exhaust me, going through security, like the people who can't figure out how to get through security quickly. It's like, oh my God. And then they, oh, you can't bring water through. Of course you can't bring water through. There's 5 signs telling you can't bring your water through. And it's just like, oh my God. So I think just from growing up with that experience, but yeah, the flights to Orlando have always been epic and good stories for sure. But yeah, we can get into that more. I actually, Mom shared this with me, Dad.
Okay.
This is a letter that I wrote to Mom, and you asked who my friends were, and I think something that resonates in reading this letter, and I'm going to read it to you because it's sad, but this was a point in time when you're in middle school. This is when your friendships in your mind, and it carries through, I think, for the rest of your life, but this is when you realize how important your friendships are, and you put so much importance on those. I think sometimes you making your family kind of feel bad because all you want to do is be with your friends. You want to spend the night, you want to play, and to give your parents any time starts to really diminish around 6th, 7th, 8th grade, So this letter I wrote to Mom that she kept, I believe this would have been the summer going into the 7th grade. So it just says, and I typed it on the typewriter at the office in Forney because I used to go down to the office, you know, when you would work. I actually typed it on the typewriter. I can tell it's the typewriter. Anyways, I said, how have you been? We just got back from running errands and eating lunch. We went to Jack in the Box. In your letter, you said you got pictures, but in photo albums. What are the pictures of? I am sorry Shane lost, but I hope he can come down to visit us. That would have been his all-star baseball summer where he did not come to Texas and I did.
Yeah.
What does Mrs. Bennett want to do about the teams? Does she want Julie to stay an Eagle? Please call me when you find out what Julie wants to do. What do you want me to do? How is Dad doing? I will try to call him later. I only have to save $25 more on my bike. Is Shane upset that he lost? I hope they win their game on Monday. I bet the sunroom looks good. I am glad we have our desks so we can use them. Marla and Lori's mom is going to take me to Wet n Wild Thursday. I wrote Julie earlier today. I will send it to her at camp. I typed this letter by myself. It is fun. I'm working down at the office answering phones. It is pretty fun. I miss you and Dad and Shane a lot. So what is going on with you? I can't wait to see you all. I miss my friends a lot. Have you seen any of them? Has anybody asked for me? Well, I better go. I miss you a lot. Love, Jamie. Isn't that kind of sad? Mom's like, that made me so sad. But I just love that I was literally like, I must have read a letter for her and I'm just answering every question.
Yeah.
But do you remember this? The bike? Because I wanted a bike because Marla and Lori, who were the girls that moved down at the end of the street, so I finally got some friends that were girls in Texas. They had bikes and I had a four-wheeler, but they didn't. So I wanted a bike and you guys said, well, you have to save up your money. And we got that bike at Montgomery Ward's. Do you remember this?
That's the Pinkston girls?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I remember where Montgomery Ward's was, but I don't remember getting the bike or that being an issue. No.
Or that you made me pay for it?
No, I don't. I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, I wanted the bike and I had to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So Shane got a four-wheeler and I had to buy a bike. Anyways.
Well, you got your four-wheeler eventually.
I will note, too, that Shane's four-wheeler was brand new and mine was used, but that's okay.
Yours actually ran faster and it wasn't dented up like Shane's.
That's because I didn't probably run it as hard, but yeah. Well, anyway, so yeah, well, that was, I just thought that would be fun to share.
Yep.
When you asked what was it like. Very cool. Yeah.
It's fun that she's kept that so long.
I know. We talk about keeping things, so she's kept a couple of things. Yeah.
That's almost 40 years ago.
Right. That would have been probably 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's still here. Well, all right, let's segue. We've asked a couple of people to comment on a couple things today. So let's segue to don't be shy. You got some feedback you want to share, Pops?
Yeah. We had some really good feedback from Holly Caraccio. And
yes.
She had called me one day before leaving to come to Mom's, just reaching out and just saying that, she was aware that we were doing this podcast. And
time out real quick. So Holly is your financial planner, correct?
Right. She's a financial planner and become kind of a really good friend. Her and Greg, her husband, have become travel partners. They go to Cabo with us. I think this is going to be the second time this year that they're going to go with us. She's taken us on trips to Costa Rica. We went in February. Then she did a nice trip for some of her clients. We went to Napa with her and a few of her clients. So she's been a close personal friend as well as a great business associate. And she networks with everybody. If you need anybody in the services world, she can find you an attorney, a trust attorney, CPA. Yeah. EOS integrator. I mean, just anybody and everybody. She's always been very good about sharing any and all that information. So she's instrumental in obviously my retirement future, and instrumental on as well, helping organize and develop a trust for the family, and just future financial and long-term planning. So
yeah, that's cool.
Good friend. And she just wanted to comment that, she's really been impressed, and took her a while before she started listening, but has listened. And once again, a routine follower now at this point in time, and just how much she's related to your story, of being a young child that went through a divorce very early, because that's exactly what happened to her, that her and her parents divorced at age 5.
Okay.
So she was wanting to reach out and let me know that, wanted to know if it was okay if I could send you a introduction email that would introduce the two of you. I know that I'm pretty sure you guys have met, but I'm not sure exactly when and where. But in any event, she just wanted to get in contact with you to be able to share that information, get just girl stories, and, seeing, as she just recently lost her mother, and somewhat found out a lot about her mom at that point in time, and better yet which was a illness and then a fairly quick passing, that she just didn't have enough time to really, as we are doing, review and reshare the stories that neither she nor her really knew.
Got it.
She should be reaching out to you. So
yeah, she did, and we're actually going to talk next week. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'll
good.
Yeah, I'll share more on that. But yeah, looking forward to connecting and swapping some stories, some childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So let me just plug again for the Don't Be Shy segment. We appreciate all the positive statements, the feedback on, enjoying the show, but please feel free to give us any critiques as well, and ask questions. This was intended to be a time for you to possibly ask questions that maybe you don't, Dad and I didn't fill the gap, or we're bouncing because, again, we have these things in our minds and our memories, and we can fill some of that, but maybe we left something out. And you're like, well, how did you get from here to there? How did y'all work through that? I don't feel like you really tackled that or explained it well. So feel free to ask those questions. We'll be happy to, spend some more time and share that if people are interested. So again, those comments and questions and feedback can be sent through the website at twoclicksinapod.com or at info@twoclicksinapod. So those are kind of our preferred means, and we appreciate those, and please keep them coming, because we love hearing it for sure. What else, Dad?
No doubt.
Any other housekeeping?
No, I don't think so. We just, it's very important to get some feedback. We love that. We like hearing, and better yet, just, an opportunity to hear your stories that do relate to our stories.
Yeah.
And I think that's very cool, and something that we look forward to in the future, of actually expanding and exploring more, to where, if it progresses and interesting enough, to bring someone on and let them, relate to the Two Clicks in a Pod stories and tell their version of their story. So how interesting would that be? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, keep tuning in, guys. Keep listening, or keep watching on YouTube. Don't forget, we are on YouTube. If you're a visual person like myself and want to see what it is to watch Dad and I communicate together, you can do that on YouTube, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook, 2 Clicks in a Pod. Thank you all for listening. I love you, Dad.
I love you, honey. Have a good day.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in today. With so many podcasts out there, we are grateful you chose to spend your time with us.
And we'd love to hear from you. So send us your questions, comments, and feedback to info@twoclicksinapod.com, and we might feature your message in a future episode.
Also, don't forget to follow us on social, and head over to our YouTube channel where you can watch the full episode live and in living color. You can find us at 2 Clicks in a Pod. That's 2, as in the number, clicks in a pod.
Well, James, until next time, love you.
Love you too, Daddy.